everyone. Welcome to Ancient Life Hacks. I am Jared Madsen. I have a master's degree in Chinese medicine. I spent many years living in China. I am fluent in Chinese. I have a great admiration for ancient cultures of the world. What I especially like is wisdom that we can apply to our lives today. Hence, Ancient Life Hacks. That's the idea behind this channel. Now, today, we're going to explore a topic that there will be some hacks involved. There will be some life hacks, but it's more about understanding deeper aspects of the human body and how the ancient Chinese looked at the body. Now, this topic is big, because we are talking about the soul. Not just the soul, we're talking about multiple souls, multiple spirits. Okay, in the West, we think that we have one soul, right? That's the idea. You have one soul in your body. In ancient China, in Taoism and in Buddhism, your body is a world, it is a universe. You have more than just one soul, one spirit running the show. You have multiple ones. Now you have one main one, okay? But you have many others. And this is what brings about all these unique characteristics of how a person is, because there are many spirits or souls at play in your body. You might say to yourself, Jared, that sounds crazy. Well, you want to know what? Let's dive in. Then you tell me if it sounds crazy or not. I think it makes sense. So, in today's episode, we will get a basic understanding of each of the 5 main spirits, and then they have different aspects and they're even divided into different. So it gets a little complicated, but we're going to go deep. We're not going to go too deep, but we're going to get a solid understanding. You're going to get a solid understanding. You're going to get pretty good understanding after you watch this. We are going to look at some old quotes. Okay, so from these ancient texts, I have translated some for us, and so we will have the translation of some of these old ancient texts that talk about the spirits. Okay, and then we will have, as always, I try to provide things that we can do to make our lives better based on this information. My opinion, philosophy that does not do anything other than make you go, oh, that's interesting, isn't especially useful. But what do I know? Before we get going, I am going to read this brief explanation on the 5 elements, because this theory of 5 elements, which is very important in Chinese medicine, we need to understand this. To understand the elements, we have to understand the elements to understand the spirits, so we understand how they interact with each other. So if you already know about 5 elements, well, this can be a brief refresher course. And if you don't, listen up. And I will also leave information in the description below so that you can reference it back if you start to get a little lost. But you're a very smart person. I'm sure it will be easy for you to follow along. The generating cycle. So in the generating cycle, each element nourishes and promotes the next element in a continuous flow. So one element produces the next, which produces the next, and then it's going to circle back, right? So these are the 5 productions that happen. Wood generates fire. Wood feeds the fire element, right? Wood is an element, fire is an element, just as trees and plants provide fuel for flames. Okay. Fire generates earth. Fire leaves behind ashes, enriching the earth element with nutrients. Very good. Earth generates metal. Earth contains minerals and ores from which metal is extracted. Metal generates water. Metal can condense moisture, forming dew and droplets. Water generates wood. Water nourishes plants, promoting the growth of wood. Okay, so that is the elements and they produce the next one, and then their energies produce the next one. It's sometimes called the mother-child relationship. Now we will go over the controlling cycle, and then we'll be done with 5 elements. We'll just do this much for today. We can do, if you are into 5 elements, leave that in the comments below. I can do a much deeper thing on this. We're just doing a very superficial idea so that we can understand the relationship between the spirits later on. Controlling cycle. So it's not just generating, it's also controlling, because everything needs to remain in balance. If something gets out of control, there needs to be something there to stop that, to not let it get too out of control. Wood controls earth. Tree roots help stabilize the soil and prevent erosion. Sure. Earth controls water. Earth can dam or redirect the flow of water. Water controls fire. Water extinguishes or controls flames. Fire controls metal. Intense heat can melt and reshape metal. Metal controls wood. Metal tools can cut down and control the growth of trees. Okay? So of the 5 elements, they produce each other and then they control each other. That's what we want to remember. Now, each of these elements connects to an organ, or it represents an organ, you could say. And within each organ, we're going to go into the 5 main organs of the body. Each organ has its own spirit that resides into it. This resides in that organ. Stay tuned, because we're going to end on the main organ, the main one that we think that controls most aspects of our body. But all of this actually that controls this, kind of the leader of the spirits, we'll call it the leader of the spirits. That would be more of what we would maybe refer to as our soul. But there are other ones here as well. So we will end on that one. The one that we are going to start with now in Chinese is called Hun. Okay, this one is liver. This resides in the liver. It is the wood element. It represents growth, creativity, and expansion. The wood element is associated with the liver and is often linked to the qualities of assertiveness and planning. Okay, so Hun is the spirit, and its home is your liver. You have a Hun in your liver. Hun is often associated with the liver in TCM, TCM being traditional Chinese medicine. It represents the ethereal or spiritual aspect of the soul. The Hun is responsible for our dreams, plans, and visions. It is considered the part of us that continues to exist after death. Did somebody say ghost? That ghost is maybe the Hun. And that would explain it. That would explain why maybe our main soul moves on, but the Hun stays. So then we see, people see like, oh, just go with me for this. You don't have to believe in God. I don't care. But if they exist, that would make sense that it's that aspect of this person, right? It is that person. It is a spirit, but it's not their main spirit. But that spirit maybe stays behind for a while. That's the Hun. Lives in the liver. Okay, let's look at some of the books. This is where it gets interesting. I've got some translations here. So just to go over this, the Huangdi Neijing, it's often translated as the Yellow Emperor's Internal Canon, or Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. It's kind of the main original book of Chinese medicine, which is a very complete book. That's the interesting thing. Prehistoric culture, right? Where did this book come from? It was in China thousands of years ago, and it's very complete. It's not what you would think of as being a very rough book where somebody had some basic ideas of medicine. It's a very complete system, and virtually all of Chinese medicine revolves still to this day around that book. Wrap your mind around that one. Okay, here's a quote from it. The liver stores the Hun. When the Hun is housed, one's vision is clear and one can make plans. Interesting thing here. It said when the Hun is housed, that means when it's in your liver. If your liver has problems, if it has fire, if you have too much stress that makes it stagnated, your Hun will not want to stay there. You just think of it as like it's its house, right? It's a weird looking house. Maybe in some dimension just over, the liver is a beautiful house. Could be, right? Why not? And so if there's problems with the liver, then your Hun doesn't want to stay there, and it'll travel around your body, and problems will happen. Okay. Here is so these 3 quotes that I have are all from this book, the Huangdi Neijing. It's the big one. Here's another quote: "The liver is the residence of the Hun. When the Hun is harmonious, one's eyes are clear, and one can distinguish colors." Now, in Chinese medicine, the liver is seen to open in the eyes. Okay. So when the Hun is harmonious, when everything is good, you can see clearly. If you cannot see clearly, something's going on with the Hun. Okay. Last one. The liver's function is to maintain the Hun. Okay. When the Hun is at peace, one can dream peacefully and plan accordingly. Okay. So we're starting to get kind of an understanding of what the Hun does. Right? And when you dream, dreaming and planning, all of that connect with the Hun. Okay, so that's liver, so we want good liver health, or else we might have trippy, weird, messed up dreams because your Hun doesn't go there. I mean, it makes sense. If you have a bunch of drugs, the liver has to process toxins, and then it will very much disrupt your Hun. Now, before we move on to the next one, it gets a little bit more complicated, because the Hun is divided into 3 aspects, we'll call it. 3 aspects of this spirit. It's the upper, middle, and the lower, okay? And so accordingly, the upper Hun is the highest level of this soul. Associated with the head region, it is related to one's destiny and life's purpose. The middle Hun is associated with the chest, and it is emotions and consciousness. Okay. The lower Hun is associated with the abdomen and its instincts, desires, and basic survival skills. Okay, so the Hun lives in the liver, but it controls many more aspects of what's going on, right? Okay, so here is a quote also too from the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. The upper Hun resides in the eyes. When it is harmonious, one can see clearly and distinguish colors. The middle Hun resides in the chest, and it commands the emotions. The lower Hun resides in the abdomen, and it governs various desires. Okay, so what does that mean? What do we do? What are the actions that we take? Liver support. We need to support the liver so that our Hun can be good, and we can have good dreams, and we can plan, and we can do all this stuff that we mentioned before. Consume herbs and foods that support liver health, such as leafy greens, beets, and milk thistle. Emotional balance. Practice emotional regulation to keep the liver energy flowing smoothly. Engage in activities like meditation and yoga to manage stress and promote clear thinking. All of this is good for your Hun spirit. So if people say, hey, that's good for your soul, in particular, it's good for your Hun soul, okay? Creative expression, right? You want to be more creative. Explore creative hobbies like painting, writing, or music to nurture your Hun and inspire visionary thinking. Your Hun loves that. This spirit that resides in you loves these creative things. Do not let your Hun look at beautiful paintings or paint or listen to beautiful music. It needs that. It thrives on that. All right. Now we're going to go into the second one, which is called po. Okay, this resides in the lungs. Po, symbolizing solidity, structure, and boundaries. The metal element, because lung is metal, is connected to the lungs and represents qualities of precision, organization, and discernment. Okay, function. Po is associated with lungs and represents the physical aspect of the soul. It governs bodily sensations, instincts, and the connection between the individual and the physical world. Okay, so the Hun, the one we learned before, a little bit more floating around out there. The Po, though, is more connected with what's going on in this physical realm. Po is considered to perish with the body. When your physical body dies, your Po dies as well. It's very sad. Po is discussed in some of these classic texts that we will get into, and we have multiple quotes. So let's dive right in. I've already got the translations here. These, the Zhuangzi and the Huainanzi are more theoretical. They're not really medical texts. We have a little bit of the medical stuff here down below, but these are more of the philosophical ones that talk about the Po more. Okay, so Zhuangzi said, when alive, the body is supple and responsive. When dead, it becomes hard and unyielding. Thus, the living and dead are equally real. They simply change forms. Okay, that's referring to the Po. Huainanzi said, the Po resides in the flesh and bones. When a person is alive, it controls bodily sensations and actions. When a person dies, it returns to the earth, and there is no more consciousness. Okay? And then another quote by him, Po is the root of bodily desires. It enjoys taste, sound, and colors, but it is confined to the realm of the physical body. Okay, so we're getting a very different spirit than the Hun. All right, this one is much more physical, really rooted in this physical stuff. If we were to look at the Yellow Emperor's internal classic, which is, again, the big Chinese medicine text, it says the Po is associated with physical form, and it is in charge of the body's movements and actions, right? So a lot of that physical stuff. To make things even more complicated, there are 7 aspects of Po. Now, what we can think of it is, you can almost think of it as the emotions of the body. So we'll go over these. There is joy, right? Now remember, Po connects with the lungs, right? That is where it resides. And then as he talked about too, it can also reside in the bones, different parts of the body. These 7 aspects are, now again, you have to remember, before we dive into this, these are emotions. But the Po is physical. It has to do with the physical stuff. This talks to a very important concept in Chinese medicine. Physical and mental are the same thing. They are not different, right? They are the same thing. Okay, they're all connected together. Okay, so joy, which is one of the 7 aspects associated with the heart, it relates to happiness, love, and emotional fulfillment. Anger, associated with the liver, it represents the emotion of anger and frustration. Anxiety, right, linked to spleen, it relates to worrying and overthinking. Pensiveness, or associated with the lungs, it's deep thought, right? So it's the type of thinking that's deep thinking, and contemplation. Sadness connects to the kidneys. Grief is a big one that connects to that. Fear, linked to the bladder, it relates to the emotion of apprehension or fear, like we said. Shock, last one, associated with the gallbladder, right? So that's shock, a little different than fear. It's like getting startled, getting shocked. That's gallbladder. It can also be trauma. So these are the 7 aspects of Po. Now, again, Po is the physical one that is closely tied with emotions. Therefore, The emotions are closely tied to the physical body. We have to remove the concept of mental and physical. Same thing. The 7 po, which we just went over, represents 7 kinds of emotions. This is in the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. If these emotions are excessive, they harm the heart, disturb the spirit, Shen. That's the main soul. We're getting a little bit of a taste of it. We'll do that. We'll go over that one at the end. That's the main one. And lead to illness. Okay? The emotions lead to illness, right? The mental leads to a physical thing because they're not. It's the same thing. Same thing. We're getting that out of our head. Here's another quote from the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. Joy is related to the heart. Anger is related to the liver. Anxiety is related to the spleen. Pensiveness is related to the lungs. Sadness is related to the kidney. Fear is related to the bladder. And shock is related to the gallbladder, right? We went over that previously, and this confirms it by the great Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. Now, what do we do? Actions for the po, the spirit that resides in the lung. Healthy breathing. Of course. Why? Because it's in the lung. Practice deep and mindful breathing exercises to support lung health and maintain a strong connection to the physical body. Again, the lungs and the physical body, the po is all together. Grounding activities. Spend time in nature. Engage in gardening or practice earthing. Walking barefoot on natural surfaces to strengthen your connection to the physical world. The po loves all of that, right? The Hun likes listening to music and painting and doing stuff like that. The po likes to just get in the mud and nature and just be very physical. Physical exercises, regular physical activities, obviously. Good things are too, or yoga, tai chi, stuff like that, can help you maintain a healthy relationship with your body. Okay, that's po. Now we're going to go on to the third one. The third one is E, which is the intellect. Okay, that is the spleen. That is earth, spleen, pancreas, representing stability, nourishment, and balance. The earth element is associated with the spleen and is linked to qualities of grounding, stability, and digestion. Okay, function. E is linked to the spleen and associated with thought, process, intentions, and intellectual ability. Okay, so we had the Hun artist, we have the po physical spirit, and now we have the intellect, right? The one that does the actual thinking, the IQ, all of that. It relates to the cognitive aspects of the mind, including memory, focus, and analytical thinking. Okay, interesting, right? Isn't that your brain? Ha. No, it is not. It is the E. Your intellect resides in your spleen. Here's an interesting cross-cultural discussion. In the West, we say, I have to digest an idea. Digest an idea. Spleen, pancreas, stomach, the digestion, where the E resides. Somebody in the West also realized that the digestion process is the exact same for food, is the exact same process, and in Chinese medicine, the exact same organs digests and processes ideas. So now we're getting somewhere, right? Your thinking, all of that. If you don't eat well, if your digestion is messed up, do you have bad memory? Do you get a little foggy sometimes? Oh, yes, you do. Because it's all the same thing. And there is an actual spirit that lives in its little spleen house. And if your spleen gets overwhelmed with dampness and phlegm and it doesn't, it loses energy, it doesn't work well, then you're just going to become mush. You're not going to be, you're not going to be as sharp. It comes from that. I have one quote that is also from the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. The spleen is the residence of thought, E, right? When the spleen is healthy, one can think clearly and make sound decisions. Actions, balanced diet, okay? We are not talking about over nourishing and overeating and like doing a bunch of superfood, focusing on weird. We're not doing that. We're talking about balance. Consume a balanced diet with whole grains, vegetables, and fruits to support digestive health, which is closely tied to cognitive function, right? What we want is our digestion to work well. Therefore, we don't eat a lot of extreme things. A nice balanced diet, that is the best for your thinking. See, we don't even say brain anymore. That's the best for your brain. Your brain, okay, and also too, before we get into this, your brain, think of it like this. Your brain is like the processing center. So the real stuff happens in the spleen, and your E resides in the spleen. And then it sends that idea to the brain. And the brain is just like the area that goes, okay, then you go over here, you go over there, you go over there. It's not the brain that actually does it, not really does it. You know, it's not the one that really does it. It's just the one that makes all the connections happen. That's all the brain is. Balanced diet, we went over that. Mental stimulation. Engage in activities that stimulate the mind, such as puzzles, crossword puzzles, reading, or learning a new skill. Okay? As we age, we often just kind of get in ruts. Not a good idea. We always want to learn something new. We want to, you see the old people who are doing crossword puzzles, they're usually pretty sharp, right? They're keeping their E, their spleen is going. They're keeping that part going. See, I'm doing that still. It's not the mind, it's the spleen. They're thinking a lot. That's what we should start doing. They're thinking a lot. Mindfulness meditation. Yeah, okay, so practicing meditation to enhance focus, clarity. Yeah, just by practicing meditation, that, it just kind of helps balance everything. I mean, that can be said for any of this stuff. Meditation is great. It's absolutely great. And it's especially good for keeping your E nice and calm, right? Letting it reside in the spleen. And then when you need to think about stuff, when you need to remember stuff, when you need to use your brain, it will be there for you. The E, the spleen will be there for you. Okay? Now we are going to go into the fourth spirit. Willpower. Okay? That is in the kidney. It is water. Okay? It is the spirit of your will. Your will to continue. That is a spirit. That is not an emotion. That is not a feeling. That is not necessarily a mental state as we think about it. It is an actual spirit that resides in your body. And you can nourish and create a good environment for that spirit. And your will be strong. But if you don't, your will be weak. Right? Looking at things in a whole different way here. Right? It's not like a lot of the modern way we look at this stuff is very different than the ancient Chinese. Okay, so let's see what wisdom we have here. Representing adaptability, willpower, and the depths of the unknown. Right? They're deep in the kidneys. Kidney is a deep organ, right? Water element is associated with the kidneys and is often linked to qualities of determination and resilience. All of that is part of willpower. Right? The willpower is connected to the kidneys and represents willpower, determination, and the capacity to set and achieve goals. Okay? You have goals you want to achieve, you can't achieve them. Kidney. It embodies a person's drive, ambition, and the ability to overcome obstacles. My spleen just failed me there for a second. Probably because I'm a little hungry. Let's look at some of the old quotes. Nanjing, the classic of difficulties, talks about zhi, the willpower, like this. Kidneys are the residence of willpower, zhi. Willpower allows one to be firm and resolute in one's decisions. If you are a wishy-washy person, kidney. When the kidneys are strong, one can overcome any obstacle. I like it. And that is from the classic of difficulties. Had a lot of difficulties in ancient time. Okay, here is another quote also from the classic of difficulties. When willpower is strong, One's spirit is determined and one can achieve great things. Yeah, sometimes we even say like, oh, this person's spirit is strong. It's this particular spirit is strong. This particular one, willpower, 智, in the kidneys, right? That is the one that we want to have strong. And the last quote, the kidneys govern willpower, which is the root of life. When willpower is strong, the body is full of vitality. Okay, again, this crosses into mental and physical are the same thing. The kidneys, we can do an episode on this one. The kidneys are very interesting organ in that they provide some of the basic essence that all the other organs need. Just like how willpower provides the basic mental state that all your other stuff needs. So if you're having trouble being resolute, you're having trouble, you want to focus on the kidneys, your 智 is a little bit off, right? But we can fix it. Here's how we do it. Actions you can take. Here's an easy one. Hydration. Hydration. It's the kidneys. Make sure you drink enough water. Don't drink too much. Make sure you drink enough. Ensure you stay adequately hydrated to support kidney function and maintain mental and physical vitality. Who would have thought to increase your willpower, all you need is a nice warm glass of water. Don't drink ice water. That's a whole other discussion. I've done other videos on it. You can watch that. Goal setting. Set clear, achievable goals and stay determined to reach them. Now, again, okay, so we maybe hear about this in modern times. It's you are nourishing your spirit, which is the willpower. So you want to give it achievable goals or it will get discouraged. Think of it as its own life, its own entity, which it absolutely is. It resides in the universe, in the world that is your body. It is part of you, but it is not totally the true you. It gets complicated. We're going to get that in the next one. Rest and recovery. Prioritize rest and quality sleep to replenish your willpower reserves and maintain mental resilience. Yes, a lot happens to the kidneys when you sleep, the liver as well, and the gallbladder, which we talk, the Hun, for all that artistic stuff, you want good sleep for that as well. But that is a big thing. Kidneys need good rest to recover. Now we're getting into the last one, the Shen, and this is what we would think of as generally what we would say is the real us, the one that's actually that thing that we feel that's actually thinking. This is the Shen, right? So the thinking and the processing and all that mental, the ability to hold memories and things like that, that's the E. We went over that, and then we have the creativity. We have all of those. But then that one that's kind of more truly us, this is what we would call the Shen. The Shen lives in the heart. The heart is the palace. The heart is fire. Okay, symbolizing warmth, transformation, and illumination. The fire element is connected with the heart and associated with emotions, consciousness, and joy. Consciousness, that's an important one. Shen is considered the most important spirit in TCM, in traditional Chinese medicine. It encompasses consciousness, emotions, and overall mental well-being. It is the ruler of the other spirits. So you could call that the true you. You could say that. I don't think a lot of people would argue. But it is easy to go, well, but there are many aspects to you. There are many spirits as we're going over. The Shen governs a person's moral compass, joy, and connection to the divine. And that's the important thing. We learn about some of these other spirits that either stick around after the body dies or that die with the body, not the Shen, not the real you. That's what connects to the divine. That's what rules the whole body, right? So it's kind of important, a little bit. Okay, the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic. What does it say on this? The heart is the residence of the Shen. When Shen is peaceful, one's spirit is calm, and one can think clearly. Shen encompasses emotions, joy, and moral judgment. So this is getting into deeper stuff. It's not just thinking. When Shen is harmonious, one experiences happiness and inner peace. So it's very important to have the Shen be good. Have the heart be nice and strong and not have any bad stuff going on with it. Also from the Yellow Emperor's Internal Classic, a person's Shen is closely connected to their moral conduct. A calm and virtuous Shen leads to longevity and health. Let's read that again. A calm and virtuous Shen, soul, spirit, leads to longevity and health. Emotions have a significant impact on Shen. Excessive anger damages Shen, while joy nurtures Shen. Okay, so the Po, as we learned, the lungs, which physically are very close to the heart, which is important, where they are physically to each other, because mental and physical are the same thing. Emotions have significant impact on the Shen. Excessive anger damages the Shen, while joy nourishes the Shen. Okay, it doesn't say it here, but excessive anger comes from the liver, okay? It becomes like a fire, right? Stress, stagnation, not movement, that friction will cause fire that will rise up, actually rise up from the liver, go to the heart, right? That's what your stress is or anger is. It's going to the heart and disturbing. So it's not only disturbing your liver, the Hun there is, it then is also disturbing the heart, making fire in the heart, making the heart is the palace, right? You can think of that as, that's not just a home, that's the palace. That's where your soul lives, right? So excessive emotion, excessive anger can really hurt that. Whereas joy and happiness makes the flowers grow in the palace, makes your heart great, right? These are all important things. Last quote. Shen is closely connected to the spiritual realm. A tranquil heart-mind enables one to connect with the divine. Okay, this is a medical book, let me tell you. Okay, this is the oldest medical book, very different than modern medicine, right? All of these, Chinese medicine is looking at many dimensions of the body. It's looking well beyond. It is tapping into stuff that is not purely physical, but again, on the other hand, it is, because all of this is kind of all connected. It's all the same thing. But then once the physical body is not here anymore, the soul that's in the heart, it is one of the spirits that moves on, okay? Connects with the divine. Definitely something that we want to think about. Okay, let's look at some actions. Emotional balance. We went over that a little bit. Very important. Cultivate emotional balance through practices like meditation and, deep breathing, right? Calm and peaceful heart. I mean, that's the thing. You want your heart to, generally speaking, be calm and peaceful. Engage in activities that bring you joy, happiness, and fulfillment. Okay, not short-term stimulation, but joy, happiness, and fulfillment. That is what will truly nourish your soul, nourish your heart. Foster healthy relationships and social connections, as they play a crucial role in emotional well-being and supporting a harmonious Shen. Okay, one quick thing to mention. We kind of talked about this a little. If there is a problem with the heart, so sometimes people who have trouble sleeping, it's because your soul doesn't return to the palace. Wait a second, I just said doesn't return. Then where is it usually? Okay, it lives in the heart. It lives in the palace, but it is usually in the pineal gland. In ancient China, it was called Niwan Gong, the mud ball palace. That is that kind of right in the center of your brain. So when your mind is active, when you are active, That is where your soul is. It is right in the middle of your brain. We talked about that a little bit previously, how everything's connected. That's your Shen. That's your true soul. It's taking all that information that the other spirits are doing and figuring stuff out, everything from creativity to physical stuff to willpower to thinking, all of that. It's shooting it up to the brain, and your Shen, your spirit, your soul is activating that and then controlling the body with the brain is just kind of the controls. When it sleeps, though, it wants to go back to the heart. It wants to go to the other palace, the heart palace, the palace where it really resides. That's where it lives, not where it works, where it resides. If you have, for instance, heart fire, right, or the liver is disturbing your heart, something is disturbing your heart, it's almost like the palace is on fire, and therefore the Shen, your soul, does not want to go back to the heart because that palace, the heart palace, is on fire. So what does it do? It resides in your brain, making you very mentally active, as it were. You're doing a lot of thinking during the night and you can't sleep. So people try to focus on techniques of like calming the mind, like that works, but really the problem is probably something going on with the heart or with one of the other organs that's disturbing the heart. So if you have trouble sleeping, that's kind of a big deal because then your soul doesn't get proper rest. Basically, it's the idea of balancing all the spirits. So if something is off, you might want to, with the spirits, right? With the spirits of your body, if something is off, you can, and if your meditation is a great way to work with that, but also you could go see a practitioner of Chinese medicine. You can do a little acupuncture, a little bit of herbs. Those can help balance your different organs, keep them all working together. If one spirit is overstimulated or too much, it can negatively affect the other organs. We don't want that. The other spirits, we want to keep everything in balance, just as I mentioned at the beginning with the 5 elements. They can nourish each other. They can also control each other. The same thing happens with the spirits. So we want everything to be nice and balanced. All right, if you guys like this topic, let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear more about these, we dived a little deep, but we can dive deeper if you want. We can go down this rabbit hole. I'm more than willing. So if you want, leave those in the comments below. I will leave some of this information in the description below as well that you can go and reference. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next